Hello and welcome to the No Balls podcast. I'm your host Patrick McDonald with me co-host Sheldon Kaufman. Today we are talking about everybody's favorite Chicago Bulls. If you do not know, we give every team their own episode where we talk about their off season and we make predictions for their upcoming season. We give them an hour, all culminating in a predictions for the entire league episode for episode 31. Before we get started, Sheldon has Bulls related trivia. What do we have?
All right, Pat, you can't have Bulls related trivia without Michael Jordan, I feel like. So we're going to go over there back into the 80s and 90s. Back when the Bulls, actually had playoff aspirations instead of playing aspirations. Let me continue. How many scoring titles did Michael Jordan have during his career? How many did he win?
So he played 13 seasons.
Yes.
I think 11 with the Bulls. Early career MJ was like 35 points a game. I feel like once the Bulls were good, it was a little more serious and he was closer to like the lower 30s. I'm gonna say in 11 years because he didn't get any with the Wizards. Um, I'm gonna say he got 6.
Close guess, Pat. He had 10.
What
10
the
scoring
fuck?
titles.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
He was locked in. I think he won 10 consecutive. I don't know where the article went, but it said that he had 10 consecutive. Oh, yeah, here we are. Yeah, he won 10 consecutive scoring titles when he played full seasons from 86 to 98. So, but you were right early on in the career, or high 30s, high to mid 30s. And then as it got more
Yeah,
serious and they were running their beats, went down a little bit, but still was averaging 30. So crazy stuff from
yeah. So
MJ.
from 87 to 93, he won the scoring title. Took a year off. Has the half season where he comes back and doesn't lead the league in scoring. I was assuming those other seasons he did lead the league in scoring a couple of those times, like all of between 87 and 90, I was expecting. And I knew he had at least one scoring title in 96. But he had a scoring title in 96, 97, and 98. So, yeah. He did score a ton of those points. Uh, it's why some people call him the GOAT, man. Like, it's not for no reason. We'll talk about Mr. Mike here and his team and why they have made him cry. We'll talk about the 2025 team. They were 39 and 43, ninth in the Eastern Conference, locked right in to the play-in game. Let's go. 37 and 45 expected record was 20th in the NBA, and their 20th ranked SRS was a minus 1.83. If you don't know, SRS is opponent adjusted net rating. How well did you play the people that you played? Higher is good. Bulls did not have a high number. At home, they were 18 and 23, 21 and 20 on the road. Pre-All-Star break 22 and 33. Post-All-Star break 14 and 12. Against the Eastern Conference, they managed a respectable 28 and 24. Against the West, they were only 11 and 19. And clutch games, they were 17 and 17, but had somehow a plus 11.7 net rating, which was fifth in the entire league, but only were 500 in clutch games.
I was about to say, Pat,
Awesome.
is that one of the typos, or that's the real number right there?
No, that's somehow not a typo.
Wow.
um, yeah, I don't know how they did it. If they managed to win too many of those games, then they would have been in the real playoffs, and they don't want that. Um, I really think the better embodiment of the actual Bulls is that when they're getting absolutely blown out, they don't kick the tire because they would love to lose by 5.
Yeah,
So
yeah. They
that
got to cover
explains the
that spread,
clutch.
Pat. They got to cover that spread.
Yeah, whenever the Bulls are down 10, go ahead and put 20 on them
To
fucking up
cover.
the spread. Yeah. because they're gonna do it. It's what they love
Yeah.
to do. What stands out most about this season for the Bulls for me is the dedication to mediocrity. Um, Zach LaVine was actually like pretty good last year. I think most of last year's episode was us talking about um, how all of their stuff would fit and how Levine had like the worst trade value of all time at this time last year because his contract was so big and he had so many injury problems. Levine was pretty good. They were able to move him. Um, and yeah, I mean, overall, I was very wrong about what the 25 team would look like. I think most of that is because a couple of their players took steps forward. Um, but what stands out the most to you about the 2025 Bulls?
Yeah, I would definitely say that the post All Star break number was significantly better. I think one of the reasons why they were able to get that ninth seed and get into the play in this year, um, and I think that was like you said when they did the trade, it was it was an interesting trade. They traded away Zach Levine. They got Kevin Herter and who else?
Big Zach Collins, baby.
Oh yeah, Zach Collins. So I don't think anyone really thought that it'd make like a huge difference, but they still were able to play really well. And another thing that happened for them was the emergence of Kobe White and Josh Giddey, who took huge leaps this year. And we saw that by Josh Giddey being rewarded with a pretty hefty contract in the offseason. So and Matisse Thybulle as well looked like a competent rookie. You talked about Matisse a couple times throughout the
Matas.
season. Oh, Matas, sorry. Matas a couple times throughout the season. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's some net positives to look at for this season, but I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the direction is for this team because it's it's a good roster, but like probably going to have some success in the weak East this year, but I don't know about like long term like playoff runs.
Yeah, so like everybody loves the team that like overperforms and makes the play in a year early. Like people will love those teams. People will love the old beat up team that is able to sneak into the playoffs despite having a hell season from the play in. Think like the 2024 Sixers, like a lot of people would like those teams, or like trying to think of a counter example, like the Pistons, if they had been the 7 seed this year, being a team that was ahead of schedule to make the play in. And those are the good things about the play in. I guess the bad part of the play in is more teams are now just okay with being the 9 seed. Like the Bulls, I don't know. They've been the 9 seed every season for like the last 4 years, and they're gonna play the Bulls the Bulls and Raptors are going to play in the play in every year. Just go ahead and schedule either them or the Heat.
Book your
When the Heat,
ticket.
yeah, just go ahead and book the ticket. And a lot of what they have done has been, pacing towards doing that again. But they've made a couple moves this year that like have some resemblance of, you know, pacing for the future. It's just I don't know if I trust what they're doing. We're gonna move forward to their offense, and we can talk about the grand uh, Bulls topics. Here we are talking about their offense first. A 114.1 offensive rating, ranked 20th, 15th in preventing turnovers, 28th in offensive rebound percentage, second in pace, just neck break pace. You're jolting your head back and forth, watching the Bulls, and when they miss shots, you're doing it at a slower pace. Anyway, in isolation, eighth in efficiency, post up 24th, transition basketball, they were 11th, and they had the highest frequency of transition basketball and the lowest frequency of isolation basketball. This was weirdly an effectively ran offense, and they managed the 20th best offense in the league. What are the things that stand out to you about this Bulls offense? Because it's a very weird one.
Yeah, definitely. I think they went like they did an interesting thing where they'd go like three guards sometimes with Giddy, Giddy, Desomu, and Kobe White. And I think that's what helped a lot with the pace. Like if you watch, like these guards are able to get up the floor really quickly. It's a team that I felt like shot a lot of early shots in the shot clock as well. Um, and when teams do that, sometimes it tends like a lot of shot chucking, and maybe that's why the offensive rating wasn't uh, as efficient as some of these numbers are looking like. Like you see, the roller stuff was really good. You had Vooch, who played pretty well this season. Um,
For what it's worth.
yeah. And the ball, they had really good facilitators running that pick and roll offenses. And we saw Josh Giddey last year, uh, average 7 assists. So he had a really good season facilitating that offense and running the pick and roll as well. I mean, this team's pace is really good, and they were actually converting when they were getting out in transition, which is really important. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and I'm just like, well, what went wrong that led to them having um like such a low offensive rating, and then you go and sort through it and you're like, okay, well, they were a normal like they were a very efficient cutting team as well. They were rather inefficient on spot up opportunities, on handoff opportunities. Um, they were towards the bottom half of the league, maybe 20th in the league, but that also was a very low possession. Like they were the third lowest in handoff frequency last year. And like just none of it quite makes sense for them. And they were a low miscellaneous possession team, which usually when teams have um, a high when they have discrepancies like that, they usually just have weird stuff in miscellaneous numbers. And the Bulls were a low miscellaneous team. They were low efficiency, but they barely had any miscellaneous possessions. Um, in off-screen actions, they weren't a good off-screen team, but that again is 2.1% of their possessions. So it was just such a weird offense. I really don't know how to quantify that they were a like how they were that offense. Like it's very hard with low isolation, high transition numbers, and all of the efficiencies look decent. I guess if you wanted to pinpoint at anything, they ran a lot of pick and roll, kind of, but they still should have been a better offense than they were, and they weren't a very good offense. Um, and not getting extra chances on offensive rebounds as well is a way to hurt the offense. It's just such a weird team, the Chicago Bulls were. We'll talk about their defense. They were 115.6 defensive rating, ranked 18th in the NBA, about average. They were 29th in forcing turnovers, 5th in securing defensive rebounding, which was pretty key for them because they were not really great at defending any actions, 20th defending isolation, 14th defending pick and roll handlers, 25th defending rollers and post up players, and then 6th in transition defense, which was pretty solid. And they did keep teams out of transition. 27th in frequency against. So, high percentage against them in the roll game. Not going to be great, especially if you're not great defending the pick and roll. I think a lot of that is them, selling out a little bit, with center play sometimes, even though they don't like to play Vooch high because you can't play Vooch high on ball screens. Um, it was just such a weird team because they play so fast that it in turn leads to other teams playing fast, usually even faster than they would normally play. So what stands out with their defense? Because I couldn't even come away with much with their defense either.
yeah, probably the roller stuff, Pat. Because like you said, like Vooch isn't a guy that's going to go out there and like hedge and switch on the ball handlers. Like they like to play him in that drop. They obviously like teams ran it a lot against him because they saw something they liked. Um, so that definitely stands out to me. The post up stuff as well. I feel like they had some like good wings, good tall wings that could play a little defense. But like I said, they like to run a lot of 3 guard lineups. So maybe that's when teams took advantage of that and started to try to post up a little bit more and use size advantages. Um, it's not a team that created a lot of turnovers, which is surprising considering they were first in transition. Um, I would typically think that if you're getting a lot of turnovers, then it leads to more transition opportunities. But when you're finishing possessions and getting a lot of defensive rebounds, that also leads to outlet passes and guys that can push the pace. So and this was a team that did really good at stopping transition and guarding it too. Like not a lot of teams ran it against them, and considering the fact that like what you just said, that teams like the pace quickens a lot when they play the Bulls. Like the fact that they weren't getting out in transition a lot is really good, which is like you said, surprising.
Yeah, and like a lot of it is because they secure a ton of defensive rebounds, which is what allows them to have a higher percentage of transition attempts. Um, just one more note on their offense, I think. They were like a very bad at once they secure offensive rebounds, they were also very bad at converting them. Not very bad, but they were bad at converting them, and they didn't get a ton of opportunities to. So that like very little about this team made sense, in my opinion. If I had to say anything, their lack of offensive rebounding shows on the defensive end, which allowed them like they were basically just running back in transition to play transition defense, which probably works a little bit. Um, Way to go, Chicago Bulls, having something that is almost impossibly to statistically quantify how their defense was better relative to the league than their offense when the numbers like just looking at them, you're like, oh, one of these has to be better than the other one, and it's the exact opposite. Way to go, Chicago Bulls! Like, awesome. Um, We'll go forward. We'll talk about team scheme and coaching staff. On your screen, you see Billy Donovan and Arturas Karnisovas. That is the head coach and general manager, respectively. Assistant coaches, Wizards legend Wes Unseld Jr., Dan Craig, and John Bryant are also assistant coaches under Billy Donovan. Um, Anything you want to talk about here, scheme-wise, Billy Donovan-wise, or Arturas Karnisovas-wise?
Yeah. We can talk about some of the scheme stuff. I mean, lots of the pick and roll action with Vooch, and a lot of like dribble handoffs with Vooch, like Vooch just handing the ball off. And a lot of those like dribble handoffs came off of like guys would get an off ball screen, then come around and receive the ball from Vooch. Um, like I said, they like to shoot early in the shot clock. Shooters are standing around and just waiting for kickouts, while the guard usually will go in, like Kobe White or Desumu will go in and try to convert. Vooch loves to do the Gortat screen after setting pick and rolls, and he also gets open for a lot of dunk opportunities and a lot of pick and pop too with him as well, because he has the ability to shoot that 3 ball. And a lot of times, like when that pick and roll action was going on, I saw that they would like to run like Matas, Matas,
Yeah, Modest.
Modest. They would run Modest as like a cutter that would kind of like leak through the defense, and they wouldn't hit him too many times, but they hit him a couple times for easy baskets. So it's pretty much what I saw, and not a big Wes Unseld Jr. guy either. So
Darn, man. Um, he
just had to get that
coached.
out there.
He was fired right before last year, right?
Yeah, but like, oh man, he did not have a
It's like,
good tenure. We went from
yeah, he,
Scott Brooks to Wes Unseld, and we were hoping it was going to be an upgrade. It was not.
yeah. That was just such a weird era. Speaking of weird era, the Karnisovas era has been pretty
Yeah,
interesting in Chicago.
yeah,
Just really quick, Billy Donovan's like a pretty good coach. Like we looked at like all the like he had a young team playing pretty seriously. Um, and it speaks volumes that they have a coach that can have this unserious talent and motivate them to maximize at 39 wins every year. Um, whether or not he has like a higher level to him, we'll just have to see. I think he was coaching the Durant Thunder team for like a year. I think before that, Scott Brooks was the Thunder head coach, and I don't know, like that, that's over 10 years ago. We haven't seen Billy Donovan in a serious coaching. I mean, you could say the 2019 Thunder, I guess, but I mean, that's your best example of Billy Donovan as a serious NBA head coach. So I don't know. We'll have to see him in a playoff series more recently, I guess. Karnisovis built up the 2 month the Bulls team that was good for 2 months that we haven't stopped hearing about since. Um, Held on to the players he had on that team for probably too long and ended up giving Levine a crazy contract, and out of Levine they got Kevin Huerter. So,
In Zach
there's
Collins.
that. They had a 2-year break from making trades. Their first move back on the job was trading Giddy for Caruso straight up.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it when we get to the Giddy contract that happened. But yeah, that trade, regardless of what happens with Giddy, was bad process. Because you
Especially
could have got.
considering what you saw Caruso do for the Thunder this year.
Yeah. Um so there's that, and then they do that trade, they do the Levine trade, which like at the time I kind of liked for them. That was without realizing how little they actually got in securing that they had their pick. Like their pick was top, I think it was like top 10 protected, and they basically got it to where if it was between 11 and 14, they would have got it because they weren't going to make the playoffs anyway. So it's just like really kind of annoying because they did that literally just to push for the 9 seed is what it was. Um, if so, like
Crazy.
just keep Levine
Yeah.
if you want to push for the 9 seed. Um, and then we'll talk about the Okoro trade too. Sure, we'll get to that. Other than that, let's talk about their draft because they did trade Levine to guarantee they could make the 9 seed and get Noah Sengue. They got him 12th overall, from Ratio Farm Ulm. Um, don't search the NBA players that have came from there. I promise you they're all good. No Frank Ntilikina's, no Killian Hayes's. I don't think Ntilikina was from there actually, but no Killian Hayes's have ever come from there. And then 55th overall they get Lachlan Ulbrich. I'll let you decide where we want to start on this one.
Yeah, let's definitely start with Noah Sengu. Like you said, overall or overseas prospect, 6'10", 194 with a 6'11" wingspan, averaged 11 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1.2 assists off 51% shooting from the field and 25% from the 3-point line. Thing to love about him is like the defensive versatility and the upside there. Um, really good switching. Like he was very switchable in the pick and roll action, would hold his own like against smaller defenders as well. Did really good against threes, fours, and fives at times. If he wants to guard fives in the NBA, he's definitely going to have to put on a little bit more weight. But good help defender as well. He showed ability to like cover a lot of ground and had good rotations defensively. Thing that Bulls fans could be excited about is how good he is at in transition and finding like correct lanes to be in. Considering this is Bulls team that loves to push the pace and be in transition. I think that a lot of his offense can come from that. And he's also a good cutter and like a true lob threat. 6'10" with a 6'11" wingspan, good explosiveness, and really good at bringing the ball down through the rim. So obviously the biggest thing is to worry about him is 3-point shot. Only shot 25% from three last season. Uh, and then just self creation and playmaking. Only 1.2 assists. And the self creation stuff just wasn't really able to get his own shot, and nothing really looked very fluid. Um, Still a young player, so a lot of that's gonna be able to be fixed, and he's not gonna be asked to be in that role when he comes to Chicago. So really good defensive prospect with some offensive upside as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was a very fun prospect to evaluate. Um, I'm trying to pull up, man, it's so hard to find these international uh, stats, but he was 17 years old throughout the international season. He operated as a primary creator for a professional team. That being said, it is like a professional team, kind of G League Ignite adjacent, but like not really. It's hard to describe what Ratio Farm Ulm has operated as, but he looked very good for a 17-year-old playing as the number one creator on a professional team. But quite frankly, he still looked pretty involved defensively for somebody who is 17, learning the game, and has high task usage on the other side of the floor. I think you mentioned the switchability, the potential as a help defender. He looked pretty decent as like a guard point guards type of guy, and he's close to 6'10". I think he measured right before the draft at 6'10", which is crazy because he looks very talented with the ball in his hands. Um, I think he averaged close to like 5 free throw attempts a game, so he's already NBA ready on his flopping, because those things were in the film. He's a very long athlete, very good at changing direction, playing physically. He cuts, he offensive rebounds, his body control is effective. And you mentioned the shot. He was a 20 or a high volume 75% free throw shooter. So there's enough there, you know, to hope that he becomes some type of a role player, like a higher volume or a higher quality role player. Maybe the on ball passing takes a step forward. He averaged just under 2 assists a game as a professional this year, so we'll just have to see if something comes out of that. At the very least, I think they're getting somebody who you can mold into a good player, and it's very fitting. The team that drafted Madas 11 the year before is kind of like, they're like, you know what, we'll go back in that same, we'll go back to that same pot and try to get another player like that. And I'll say this, I like him more than I liked Madas at the time of the draft. And I was definitely wrong on how I evaluated Madas because, yeah, he plays nothing like how I expected him to. Um, yeah, you got anything else on Big Noah?
Uh, yeah, hopefully he continues to show that shot blocking attempt ability. Hopefully he didn't get too discouraged by the summer league.
Yeah, hopefully he will always stay aggressive in blocking shots. Um, what names came up for you?
Like a not as offensively um equipped Pascal Siakam, I think.
Yeah,
Because correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but when Siakam came into the league, he didn't have the 3 point shot that he did today, right?
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
was
So
definitely a develop.
yeah, so defensive player that's good rolling to the rim. Um, really long pause and tall as well. So yeah, I like Siakam for the comparison.
Yeah, I got taller Jeremy Grant came up a little
Yeah.
bit. Uh, will play a role potentially adjacent to like Benedict Mathurin, where it's a very unique bench scorer. If in like a medium tier outcome, it's kind of like that. Um, and then like I kind of think if nothing improves, like he can give more effort defensively and be like a Peyton Watson type. Like he's got the length, he's got the athleticism. Um, Eventually something like that. That's what I would hope for from Noah Senge. I think he's actually a really good prospect. I had him in the top 10 in this draft, as which I think was a very strong draft. Lachlan Ulbrich. Did you come away with anything from Lachlan?
Um, yeah, not too much, but he's a good screener and he rolls well to the basket. I think that can be used in this Bulls offense, and had really good touch inside of the paint. I will say that, and a pretty good passer, even though it was only had 1.6 assists last season. He still showed flashes with good kick out passes and like stuff across the court as well. Um, it's gonna be like interesting to see like how his mobility is gonna come into play. Like he's a big guy, not really like very athletic. Struggles with rim protection and cannot shoot the ball really. I think uh, let's see, where is it? Yeah, shot 9% from 3 point last season in the NBL. So
Yeah, former NBL teammate of AJ Johnson, Wizards legend. Um, Keep in mind, AJ Johnson averaged 2.8 points for the Illawarra Hawks that in his season.
oh, that is
Um,
true.
so Ul- Lachlan Ulbrich being a 9-point scorer, pretty good. You want to see the rebounding get a little bit better, but there's something here. There's some passing feel, like you said, and the screening's already like looks pretty solid. So maybe he ends up becoming like a rotational big. We'll just you'll have to see. He's already 21 years old too. It's worth mentioning. And did you ever get a height and weight on him? Because I was seeing conflicting answers.
I have 6'10", 240.
6'10", 240. Okay, that sounds about in the middle of the answers I was getting. Um, Keep in mind, I will say one thing. This pick, Lachlan's on a two-way. The Bulls did trade this pick, or trade for this pick. They moved down like 13 spots in the draft to the Lakers for just cash. Let's go. Let's go, Chicago Bulls. Not even getting like a conditional, heavily protected second round pick. No, just cash. Let's go. Love to see that. Um, yeah, you ready to move forward? All right. Trades and free agency. Big Uke um, is on a two-way. Yuki Kawamura. Mohamed Gay is on a two-way. And Isaac Okoro they acquired in trade from Cleveland. Um, we'll talk about the Okoro stuff when we get to the trade that they made. Um, really nothing of too much importance. The big thing they had this summer was the Giddy restricted free agency. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. Notable losses: Lonzo Ball from the Cleveland Cavaliers, or goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That was the Isaac Okoro trade. THT unsigned. EJ Liddell and Jameer Young depart. Liddell goes to the Nets. Young goes to the Heat. I think both are on two ways. Lonzo Ball for Isaac Okoro straight up was the trade. What do we have to say about this trade? If you're in the seat of somebody judging Karnisovas, not Karnisovas' seat himself.
Um, it's interesting. Going to get kind of like a wing guy, and Isaac Okoro when you have a pretty stacked wing room already. And Lonzo Ball looked pretty good for them last season. Um, we talked about it in the Cavs episode, but shot the three ball like pretty average, but showed playmaking ability as well. And he just didn't really get a lot of playing time. And he would have been healthy this year. I think it would have been interesting to see. And if Lonzo Ball was good, um, like I think he could have been. I mean, Isaac Okoro really isn't anything like. Uh, he's not going to come in there and like shake the
Good,
room when he comes in, huh? Yeah, yeah. Not going to
good.
really be anything too. Yeah. So I think maybe you just keep Lonzo Ball and see how he ends up, and if he ends up being like having a good season, you could trade him. Not only could you trade him for way better value, but you could trade one of your guards, i.e., Kobe White or Ayu Dosomu. And Ayu Dosomu has kind of like he has like an interesting role on this team where a lot of people don't know like what it really is because he's kind of been put to the side because of Kobe White.
Yeah, I don't know why they like these one for one trades, because now you feel so entitled to Isaac Okoro, because they have rejected some dumb trades for Lonzo Ball in the past couple years, even through like the injury concerns that he's had. They've rejected some trades for Lonzo that they should have definitely taken. I think they got something decent at the deadline. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they could have got their pick rights back for Lonzo. Sacramento probably would have done that. Um, but Zach LaVine instead. Um, I think it's a weird trade. You didn't need another wing who's like not like an NBA starter. Like they already have enough of those guys. And they were trying to develop two of them that they drafted in the most recent drafts. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Like Lonzo was also like a huge part of their big pace team, and here they are. Like you no longer have Lonzo, you no longer have Caruso to create a lot of those opportunities. None of it makes that much sense to me. We'll look at Spotrac. We'll talk about the Giddey stuff. They recently signed Giddey to a $100 million over 4-year extension. If you look, they have a ton of expiring money with Vooch, Kobe White, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, all expiring this offseason, along with Ayo Dosunmu, Javon Carter. Dalen Terry is expiring, if that means anything for you. What do we think about the Giddey extension?
I mean, what was this? What he was asking for? Is this what like he was? Because what he was holding out for, like a little bit more than this.
Yeah, so the claim was Giddey was holding out for 30 a year, which if you only watch Giddey play in March, 25 to 30 million is like fine for him. But if you watch Josh Giddey play at any other time of the year, like
Yeah, it's a lot to commit to. Uh, Man, I mean, I guess they had to pay someone after giving up on Zach LaVine. Like they needed a new future face of the franchise. Because I mean, if you look at this, the only guy that they have like extended for the next couple years is Patrick Williams, and we all know how that contract worked out. So I guess
they're
you had to do
so
it. I just don't know if I would give him that much money because I don't know if he can be like play to that consistency throughout the year.
they're like so bad at deciding who to pay money to. like
Always pick the wrong guy.
oh gosh, I guess they did make the decision on Caruso when nobody else was doing it, but um like they paid Levine like a ridiculous like max contract. Patrick Williams was a guy that they had no hesitation paying in restricted free agency, by the way. And then Josh Giddey, I feel like they wouldn't be giving Giddey this much money if they didn't trade him 1-for-1 for Caruso a year ago. And I think that's the real danger of the Caruso trade. Giddey might end up being a fine player, but like at least like get one of those a million Thunder picks from the Thunder. So you can like say, hey, Giddey, you weren't the only thing we wanted out of Alex Caruso. So, sign on for 18 a year. But, here they are paying him 25 a year. I don't think it's that crazy of an overpay. And Giddey could end up being good enough to where that is a value for them. But just thinking about it this way, like he's kind of like the embodiment of the Chicago Bulls. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But here's their Fanspo stuff. If you just look, they will be very much clear next offseason $106 million in max cap space. That's without a Kobe White or Vooch extension. I'm sure Kobe White is at least a priority for them to get some type of extension done. If not, trading him for value could be a good move too. We'll just have to see what Chicago ends up doing. They haven't had good decisions with who they pay and who they keep and when they move them. We'll have to see. Lineup data, the all-white lineup, baby. Let's go.
The white lineup.
Yeah, so you have Kobe White and then Vooch, Matas, Kevin Huerter, and Josh Giddey. It was their only lineup that didn't contain Levine that played 50 or more minutes with a positive net rating. It was a plus 5.2. It's pretty fun. That's all I was, a lot of their Levine lineups were pretty solid. It was hard to really like make a case for those to be relevant because they don't have Zach Levine. Kobe White kind of plays similar to Zach Levine, except he's just not as great creating his own shot on the ball. He's a very good off the catch shooter, like a really good shooter, and then he can use his shot gravity to like just teleport to the rim. But his handle's still developing. He's a decent pick and roll operator too, but the Herter minutes were actually like pretty great after Kevin Herter got there. Um, Other than that, like not much to parch through because they've had a ton of turnover. They brought in big Isaac Okoro, which would make sense, if Kevin Herter and Zach Levine being such great shooters wasn't the main reason why those lineups worked. So uh, that's why we're sour on Okoro for them too. It's like, come on, man. You saw how shooting helps your fast-paced offense, and you bring in a guy who literally teams are like, nope, we'll just let him shoot. Uh, Here's where I came away with for the new lineup. It was hard to decide, having the White lineup information. I did still side with Kevin Herter on the bench. Giddy, Kobe White, Patrick Williams, Modest, and Big Vooch. Uh, did you have anything else?
No, I like this lineup, or I think this is the right lineup to do. Um,
Big
you still
difference.
get the Yeah, you still get the ability to push the ball with Kobe White and Josh Giddey and Matas as well, and then you get some defense from Patrick Williams there too. Um, you got your big and Vooch who can stretch the floor. You got a decent bench, I guess, with the Somu, Herder, and the Sengu coming off of it. And Javon Carter also looked pretty good last year throughout flashes.
Yeah. You know, I just think of in the position of Matas, right? He's looking around at the jump ball. He's like, well, Vooch, I got to cover for him on the back line.
Yeah,
Josh Giddey and Kobe White, well, they're not stopping anybody. And Patrick Williams, I don't need, he might not want to play. So he's like, damn, I gotta do all this defense stuff by myself. Um, yeah, I think the defense is like kind of scary. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be very good. Um, Fast paced, they can play fast paced. Vooch can secure rebounds. At least Modest, Kobe White, Giddy are very skilled. Um, and like I don't really hate all of the bench players. Like, okay, I hate portions of all of the bench players. Like I would assume who's been inconsistent in his career, but when he's on, he's like a really good role player, and another team is gonna really love Io when he gets traded for um when he gets traded for a bad player 1-for-1. Um Okoro can't shoot, but his defense is pretty great. And like the shot is fine in the regular season a lot of the time. Kevin Herter, like, is actually a pretty respectable NBA player and was pretty good for the Bulls. Asengwe, like we just talked about, like he might be a weaker offensive Pascal Siakam. We'll just have to see. On that note too, what do you think about the fit next to him and Modest if like both of them work out?
yeah, that'd be awesome because like then you get instead of Patrick Williams in there, you get a young Sengu who's I mean more willing to play. I think some good defensive tools, and if he can shoot too, like that'd be nice as well. But yeah, I think it'd be nice. So you just get a younger Patrick Williams in there, like with the defense or the defense he once had.
So long term, because I would assume at the start of the year, Asenga is going to get some G League time. In the long term, are they your 4-5 or your 3-4?
I think 3-4 unless the Sengu puts on like their 15, 20 pounds. I don't know if
Yeah.
he can play the center at that skinny or not skinny, but at that lighter weight.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking because both of them will probably be questionable shooters until they're not. And then especially with Giddy, like you kind of need a stretch five.
Yeah,
Um, I think that could just be like a very hard way to build a team. So I think they see Asenge as like a very skilled five in the future, is how I would assume. Because even like you look back pre-draft, and I was completely wrong on Modest, but I was like, so he's gonna be a undersized five man who's like decent with the ball in his hands for a five and can shoot well for a five. Um, but then I guess they just hope that they can play center by committee with two power forwards. I guess is the long term view, unless they really think both can shoot. If they think both can shoot, we'll see. I think it's like you're hitting the lotto twice with both of those shooting developments.
yeah, yeah. You're gonna definitely need like all the things to go right.
Yeah. But like if they both go right, like that's actually like a like team building cheat code to have two guys like that who are 6'10" wings who can, play defense and handle the ball and shoot. Yeah, it's like if Jalen
Everyone's
Brown could shoot and handle the ball,
yeah.
um, it'd be pretty awesome. Other than that, do we have any? I mean, Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips, they play hard. Well, I like what they give you, and same thing with Zach Collins and Jalen Smith. Like they have role players that play hard. So, um, what we're basically getting at here is, um, we'll just have to see. Core questions. We'll go ahead and get to them. Do we think the Chicago Bulls improved this offseason?
No, I'm gonna say no because of the
I
Aquila
agree.
trade. Yeah,
Um, do we think they set themselves up better for the future?
I guess also no. I
They did
I
nothing.
like
So,
yeah, yeah. I'll say no. I'm gonna say no.
Okoro is guaranteed money. Lonzo Ball is not guaranteed money. So
That's
that
crazy.
removes that removes 12 million from their cap space plan. Uh, so for that reason and that reason alone, I'm gonna say no, because I don't. Unless Isaac Okoro ends up being a
Yeah.
critical part of the next iteration of the Chicago Bulls, then it actually is beneficial for them. But I don't think that is necessarily going to be the case. Um, offensive MVP.
Mm. I guess Giddy,
I've
maybe
Yeah, I
Kobe
was gonna say
White.
I have two
I guess
answers.
yeah.
I think the best offensive MVP when you like put or the best offensive player on this team in the context of on an average NBA team is probably Kobe White because as a secondary player, like Kobe White's probably much better than Josh Giddey, and that's what he is for most NBA teams. But on how they play next season, like it'll be very Giddey focused. Um, and like we saw in March, like they were pretty awesome March team. Not like they were an awesome March team the 2 years before that when they were a good team in general. Um, definitely not always a good March team. Um, but I would say that. And then defensive MVP for them, I'm gonna say the shot clock.
I like that. I like that. Um, I'll go. I guess I'll go modest. I'll go modest. I guess. Um,
Yeah,
maybe Noah Isengu. I mean, honestly, if he gets enough playing time, he might be their best defender. Um, But I'll
unfortunately.
go modest. I'll go modest.
I think Modest is an acceptable answer. I think Io, if he's like healthy, looks healthy as well, probably an acceptable answer. Hopefully he gets traded for. I'm trying to think of like a player he could get traded for. That the Bulls would trade him for Cam Reddish right now if they could. Unfortunately, they would have to sign Cam Reddish, so they can't do that. Um, but yeah, they would trade him for Cam Reddish straight up if they had the opportunity to. X factor for the Chicago Bulls. What do we have?
X factor for the Chicago Bulls. Um, wow. Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey playing up to his contract for sure. If he can play like he did in March, this might be a seven seed Bulls team. Who knows?
Damn it! I thought you weren't gonna say Giddy because we are not like a super Giddy pro podcast. Even though like we do give players their credit. If Josh Giddy can play like how people think he plays, where he's this like super ball distributing point guard who helps the team play at a super fast pace, um, and like just improve a little bit defensively because he's kind of tragic on that end. If he can do that and teams start to respect the jumper a little bit more, let's say the 38% from March isn't real, but like he's a 36% on like 4 attempts instead of 2 attempts, um, then I think teams might start to like guard him a little bit real in the regular season at least. Um, and that will change things for Chicago. And they might, like you said, it might be a 7 seed. It might even be like somehow like a 6 seed. I guess last season he was 38% on 4 a game. I would assume a lot of that is later in the season based. So I'll just say if he shoots the ball like he did later in the season, um, then there you go. That's my answer. I'll pull up the exact March splits, because they were so much better late in the season. Um, yeah. So like, let's see. Yeah. So like the very start of the season, it was terrible. He was shooting. Uh, what is that like? 16 of 9. So he was shooting like 30% from November to January. And then April and March, he went on a heater. Or February and March, he went on a heater. So if he continues the February March shooting, I kind of like what Giddy could be for them offensively. Um, do we think Giddy's the encapsulation of the Chicago Bulls?
Yeah, perfect player for a perfect team. I think like the team fits the player. That's what I would say.
Perfect guy. Never done anything controversial, just like the Bulls.
Just
Um,
like the Bulls.
yeah. Done a lot of great things um, since 2011. I don't know how I would relate that to Giddy, unfortunately, um,
You
in a
like?
sarcastic
Wait, you know
way.
what? I'm not
What's what's 25
going in
minus 11?
14.
Okay,
Oh,
so no, that's even a little, yeah.
that's
Um,
fired out.
um,
Who knows?
Giddy on a team like this, on a team that will be trying to win but doesn't have super serious long-term aspirations. Pretty good. On a championship team that doesn't have a worldly perfect fit for a player like Josh Giddey, terrible. Like actually terrible. And I don't think people realize like how bad it was that last season in OKC. And like not much of that is Giddey was that much different of a player. Like the shot, like I said, obviously got better. Um, but just the fit on a team where Josh Giddey isn't going to have the ball a majority of the time, where he's primarily off the ball, it's like actually tragic. Um, thankfully, this is a team that will give him the opportunity to play on the ball, and we'll really get to see him develop to his maximum potential. Because a lot of people want every player to have that opportunity. Like people want Bones Highland to have the opportunity to run the show on an NBA team. I'm like, only 30 guys get that privilege at one time. So like
Isn't too.
not everybody's gonna have the opportunity to, operate as a number one option at some point in their career. Giddy is getting that opportunity, and we'll have to see how good it looks. If it wasn't gonna work here, I don't know where else it would work. Um, Other than that, do we have any Bulls comments?
No Bulls comments from me.
Should we even talk about them in the predictions episode, or should we just like completely skip over the 8th seed in the East and not
Just
talk
blur
about the
them.
Bulls?
Kind of just have a silhouette of the logo.
We'll be like, all right, so here's the 7 seed, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll pick the Bucks, and then we're like, all right, now to the 9 seed. Who's the 9 seed team? um, the Toronto Raptors, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Hornets maybe.
Maybe. East is so weak. Uh, we'll go ahead and talk about them. The Bulls. The East is so weak this year. They could sneakily like have 2 max cap spots, win 42 games, win the 6th seed. Giddy takes a step forward. They extend Kobe White. What would we do on Kobe White? I guess that is the other important part about the Bulls right now. What are
Um,
you thinking on Kobe White?
I I like Kobe White. He had a good season last year. Like I said, he was one of those guys that also took a step forward. Uh, 20 points per game and shot it really good from the 3 point line as well. Um, I think like I kind of said it earlier. I was like you move on from I think you move on from Desumu and keep Kobe White. I like Kobe White. I think he's good. I think there's just like a weird pairing for him right now. Um, on this Bulls team. But like especially if he can go out there and do what he did last year, like shoot lights out from three, um, and also dish the rock pretty well with 4 assists a game. Yeah, you extend him.
I've seen a lot of conversation like with Cam Thomas's free agency. Ultimately, he gets the qualifying offer, and how that will affect Kobe White in free agency. I'm like, Kobe White's like definitely a better off-ball player.
All
I think a
around,
lot of people
yeah.
don't understand that. Like Kobe White's probably a worse on-ball player than Cam Thomas, but he's so much better of an off-ball and facilitating. Like he's even probably better defensively player. Like he's so much better of a player than Cam Thomas. I just think it's pretty crazy. Like I don't think Kobe White will get like a crazy bag. Like I think it will probably be less than Giddy, just for like comparison. Like Malik Monk has no value on his current contract, and it's like not that crazy of a contract. So I think when talking about like Jaden Ivey or Kobe White, like I think these guys are a lot better than your Cam Thomas and Jalen Green types. Um, and Jalen Green was able to get paid and get traded on that contract. So I think Kobe White will get paid. I would hope is with the Bulls because I think it is a good offensive fit for him at least in the current moment. Um, because more transition shots really helps a guy who's not a great like one-on-one shot creator. Um, So I think that's a great fit for them. I think the Giddy and Kobe White fit defensively is like actually pretty catastrophic, like for a team that would want to be serious. But I don't think the Bulls are in that spot. And once they are in that spot, they can probably trade one of Kobe White or Giddy because the deals won't be that expensive, I would think. So I think you get a Kobe White deal done really now in case he takes a step forward. Um, No, let's not call for Karnisovas' job. I was gonna put the over under, but we're gonna spam the over. He's keeping the job until 2040. Um, yeah.
Supremacy will reign for many years.
I don't think we can say that. They did have the all-white starting lineup.
Oh yeah, my bad. My bad.
That's
Needs to
staying in
be.
though.
Yeah.
Anything else on the Bulls?
No.
All right, that'll do it for this one. Next episode will be the Cleveland Cavaliers. We have already recorded that one. I will tell you that is an awesome episode. We got to talk. Actually, it's one of the shorter episodes we've done, but we still got some great conversations in about a very good NBA team. So look out for that one in approximately 2 days. We'll see you then.